Everyone knows Henry Selick, or at least I hope so, because he directed some of your favorite stop-motion animated movies, from The Nightmare Before Christmas to Coraline, all the way to his most recent film, Wendell and Wild, just to name a few. But even a great director with a good reputation for making mostly good movies would eventually have projects that get cancelled and never fully made. Today, the movie we are talking about is called The Shadow King, with the premise of a young orphan boy named Hap Dagger, who has interestingly long fingers, and he hides from the world around him to protect himself. Until one day a shadow girl teaches him how to make amazing shadows that come to life, which ends up becoming a fantastical weapon in a shadow war against an evil monster who could destroy everything the boy loves, including his brother and the world. Honestly, it sounds pretty interesting, and very much like something Henry Selick would want to direct, giving it a spooky vibe of monsters and creepy people, and also involving shadows this time around. So what exactly happened? Surely this movie could have been a success, especially under the Disney banner, which it was. So how did it end up cancelled? Well, back in 2009, Selick left Laika after finishing Coraline, and soon went to Disney in 2010 to create the film for a 2013 release, with the original title called Shadow Maker, later changed to The Shadow King. After some time, pretty heavily into production, the film was cancelled in 2012, supposedly due to creative differences. It was also reported that the movie hit the budget of $50 million. They took another look at it and found it wasn't where it needed to be to reach its release window.
What? Richard's right. I'll never make shadows with these.
After a decade later, in 2022, Selick revealed that the film suffered from a lot of interference from then CCO of Pixar, John Lasseter, who would apparently constantly come in and change things, which led to the budget to skyrocket. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Selick said the following: "They rip things apart. They rebuild, rip things apart, rebuild. Lasseter couldn't support my vision. He thought he could make it better, and so we kept changing, and changing, and changing." These proposed changes ultimately caused the film's budget to inflate, to the point that Disney ultimately scrapped the film. The whole experience made Selick consider quitting filmmaking altogether, but he ended up getting inspired by both Key and Peele to do another film, which ended up being Wendell and Wild. It's a shame because the project originally showed a lot of promise. When showing the Disney execs Coraline, everyone liked it and offered a deal for his movie, but it fell through because they couldn't let one man make his vision. What's interesting is that not only was this under Disney, but also Pixar, which meant that this movie could have been not only Pixar's first stop-motion animated film, but also their first film that wasn't 3D animated, if this is all true. Every article I've seen included both Disney and Pixar, but none of the pictures and clips we've seen included the Pixar name. It also shows in the list of cancelled Pixar movies, so I'm not 100% sure if it was going to be a Pixar movie, or if they were just working with the people at Pixar. Either way, it's a very interesting production. I also wanted to mention that following the cancellation of The Shadow King, another movie that was also supposed to be directed by Selick called The Graveyard Book, based on the book by Neil Gaiman, who is the same author who wrote Coraline, was also cancelled shortly after. The film was also supposed to be stop motion, but after the shutdown of The Shadow King, Selick parted ways with the project. It was said to be taken over by another director, but ultimately fell through. It's such a shame. We could have had at least 2 films from Henry Selick, and possibly more if they were hits, but it just didn't work out. After the initial cancel of The Shadow King, Disney allowed Selick to workshop the movie to another studio, which led it towards Laika, but they had to pass on it because they couldn't find the budget for it at the time. In November of 2022, Selick reacquired the rights to The Shadow King from Disney, and mentioned that he may revive the project. So far though, he hasn't been able to find a place that will take it. Maybe Laika after all these years can look at it again and take a crack at it. Or maybe it can find a home at Netflix, since Selick's most recent project, Wendell and Wild, was released on that platform. It's tough to know for sure, but we can always hope that The Shadow King can eventually be finished.
She's insane. Psycho.
Right.